Hello you guys, I just wanted to pop on and introduce myself. I know that I usually don't show myself on this channel because usually I'm a hot mess, honestly, but I just wanted to officially introduce myself and have a face to the name. So my name is Amber. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm gonna try my best to be super consistent on YouTube from here on out, hopefully Fridays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can usually catch us live on Whatnot. I don't have like a specific day, but I'm usually on live there with my husband. You can go over to Whatnot and bookmark our shows and catch us live. He is the entertainment over there, to be quite honest. He wears his wigs and I love him to death, and he is the fun to our shows. So I want to welcome you guys here. Thank you guys so much for watching the videos. Today we are just going to get everyday upcycled items from the thrift store and just give them a new purpose. So let's get on to the video. And again, thank you guys so much for being here and watching my videos. Let's get on to the video. Bye guys.
So I'm going to start out with the spools that I love to upcycle these, and you can find them all the time at the thrift store. I'm going to upcycle them by just making them like a little shelf sitter. I'm tearing this fabric here. I want to use this fabric as the background of the fabric I'm going to stamp. And I do love a distressed edge versus a clean edge. That is why I prefer this method. So now this fabric here, I'm going to stamp it with some IOD stamps, and I'm going to place this one right on top. So I'm going to glue down this pretty floral one just using some hot glue, and I am going to put this right over the part where the threading was loose just to keep it in place. So for the top fabric, I'm going to stamp with Emblems from IOD Stamps. I think this is out of the new IOD release. I don't even know. I think so. I have some stamps that I haven't even opened, so pretty sure this is the new one. And since it is new, we are going to prep them, just giving them a light sanding, and you want to do this every time you get new stamps. And I'm just going to use some ink from Hobby Lobby, and I don't even know what color this. I don't even know if they still sell this, but it is just plain black ink, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp here, and then I'm going to stamp it onto my piece of fabric. And just anytime you're stamping fabric, you just want to make sure that your stamp is very well inked since you are putting it onto fabric. Then right in the center of that label, I'm just going to put the word vintage just because I think that's cute. And I don't know what the name of these are, but they're corresponding with all these IOD stamps. And just to further embellish these, I'm using these little brass tags that I got off of Whatnot from Sarah's Vintage Vault. You can find her on Whatnot as well. And all I do was pin it in there with a pin, and that is it. So if somebody wants to take it off, they can. And I'm just going to add some hot glue to the top of this, and I will add some moss and add some florals to that. I don't put any floral foam or anything like that. I think the moss does the job fairly well. So if they want to change out the florals, they totally can. And I'm just going to pop in these pretty pink roses that I just picked up at the bins, which is where I get most of my florals. It is just the cheapest, unless I find them at Dollar Tree or Walmart. That is mainly where I get my florals if they are pretty enough and not all dusty. I prefer not to clean florals, so I try to get the ones that are the cleanest and dust free. And I do make several of these, but I don't want to take you guys through the whole process again. You guys get the gist of it. If you come across some spools, pick them up. There's lots of things you can do with them. Next one is this old dictionary. I want to say 1930s, I think. The pages are falling apart and everything, but I do love to upcycle these books. They are so pretty just for decor. So I want to keep this book together, so I'm just going to wrap it with some lace. I'm wrapping it around the dictionary, and then in the back I'm just going to cross it over and bring it to the front, and then I will tie it off and make just a simple little tie in the front. So I don't want it to be slipping around. I kind of want it to stay in place, so I'm just running the lace right underneath that piece of the lace. Then I will tie it off, and that'll keep it from moving back and forth. As you can see here, once I tie it off, it doesn't really move side to side. And then I will add some pretty pink florals, which I had left over from last week, and I think they are so pretty. So to embellish, I'm just going to add these pretty little roses. I'm not going to glue them in case the buyer wants to remove them. They can do so. I'm just tucking them back behind the lace, and that is about it. This dictionary actually sold during the week for me, so it is already on its way to its new owner. So I wanted just to tuck this stamped paper on the right side of the dictionary. So this paper is a very old paper that I just like the look of it. I got it at the Goodwill bins. I'm just going to stamp it with some IOD stamps and tuck it right under the lace. So this stamp is also out of the Emblems IOD stamp set. So I always get amazed at how detailed these stamps are. Look how pretty, like so much detail goes into these. I'm just going to tuck this right underneath the lace, and that is about it for this pretty book. I also rescued another Hypno book, which was somewhat in the same condition. I did the same step. The only thing with that one is I tucked in an old church photo that I found. I also ripped it just, with a ruler to give it that rough edge, and tucked it right into the book, and that one is also sold, and I really loved that one. Next is going to be a cloche. Well, what is right now, it's a votive, which we all find votives at the thrift store, and we all find mismatched salt shakers. So I'm using this little bird, and I just made sure that it fit into the top of the cloche fit into the bird. I just had to turn it a certain way so it wasn't crooked. I'm going to attach it with some JB Weld. So before I attach, I am going to paint my bird. First, I'm going to use some air dry clay, and I'm just going to cover up the little holes so it doesn't look like a salt shaker anymore, but just the bird that we're going to use as a topper. And my bird here is super shiny, so I am going to mix some paint with some salt wash. I don't know, something about salt wash, it sticks to just about anything, and so does chalk paint. So I'm mixing them up together, and we're going to create some texture onto the little bird. So I'm painting my bird here, and I'm going to use stippling motions just to create enough texture. And I feel like that's kind of the best way to get the most texture and not get your paint lifting here and there. At least that's how I find it easier. I stipple on the paint, and I'm going to be doing 2 coats, and then we will dry brush. So I'm going to use the color Ivory, and I'm just going to dry brush my little bird here. So I'm using a Chippy paintbrush. You're going to load your brush with some paint, and you're going to get most of the paint off. And then we're going to be hitting the bird in all the high peaks that we created with the textured paint. And you can do this as little or as much as you want. Just whenever you're satisfied, you can stop. I do like to go in a couple times because I do like the look of it. And as I mentioned, I am going to be attaching the little bird with some JB Weld. So you're basically going to get 2 equal parts of this JB Weld. You're going to mix it. Then I'm going to add it to the top of the cloche. Just try and getting as much as I can. So hopefully when I stick my bird in there, it will touch some of the glue and it will be on there for good. This glue is the best stuff that I have found to attach like knobs and stuff to glass without budging. So I have used E6000. It just doesn't work as well as this stuff. This stuff is stinky, but it works. So I'm just going to add my bird to the top of the glass here, and I do turn it a little bit just to make sure it's straight and to make sure that it is getting in contact with the glue. I let that dry for about 24 hours. I leave it alone, and here it is. And I just put a cute little spool in there with a transfer on it, and I think it came out super cute. Next, we're just going to create a little upcycle with this wooden scoop that I picked up at the Goodwill bins. And of course, we always find scoops or wooden spoons at the thrift store. We're going to start out by giving this piece of wood a coat of paint in the color ivory because I do plan on decoupaging a napkin. So we will start off by removing the extra layers to the napkin. We are going to use this pretty blue and white floral napkin. And today I'm going to be trying out liquid patina for the first time, and oh my god, I gotta say, I have been missing out for so long. This stuff goes on so smooth, so different to Mod Podge. I'm totally hooked. And I did pick this up at Unicorn Dust Designs with Sammy. So if you are interested in getting some, head over to Sammy's website. So I placed my napkin right over that, and I just use, you know, those cheap packs of gloves from the Dollar Tree. They come like with 100 for like $1.50 or whatever the Dollar Tree costs now. I just like the ease of being able to grab a glove, and this is just going to create a barrier between your fingers and the napkin, so you're able to smooth it out without ripping your napkin. And you can use anything, saran wrap or whatever you got on hand. And I'm just going to seal this up with some liquid patina with Mod Podge. Usually I would take it outside to spray it to seal it up. But this stuff is so smooth. Like, I'm a little shook. So I'm just going to seal it up with liquid patina and then we'll move on. So I'm sanding off all the excess napkin. Then going in with this crackle stamp from IOD, which is out of, I think it's called Textures, I think. Which I don't know if it's still available or not. I don't think so, but this stamp is my favorite. You can't see it from here. Hopefully, I do get a close-up so you can see. This just adds a little more detail that I just love. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of my scoop to attach it to my piece of wood here. But later on, I will add a couple nails to it just to make sure that it does not fall and it stays put. And then I add some moss and a cute little rooster. And this can be changed out with a bird or whatever you like for the seasons. And I think it came out super cute. I just added a little wire hanger to the top. So this one here is more of a DIY, I guess you can say. So these are some bookends that I was going to use with this piece of wood, but that's why I'm skipping through this because I completely hated it and I just couldn't figure out like a good placement for it. So I went a separate route. So I cut these pieces of wood and then I created these roosters out of the IOD mold. I will add the name in the description box. I never remember the names, but I will add it. I'm also going to add these half-cut spindles that Jimmy cuts to each side of my rooster. And then I will attach them with some tight bond and then I'm going to paint. So I am going to be using some milk paint. But before I do that, I did give these a coat of Rust-Oleum matte chalk paint just to give my milk paint something a little more to adhere to. And the ones I was really worried about were the spindles. I'm not really worried about the wood itself. It's more the spindles since they did have a shiny coat to them. I just want to make sure that the milk paint sticks and doesn't all chip off. So to mix my milk paint, I'm using my handy dandy spoon, using equal parts water and milk paint. I think I did I'm sorry, that was my dog. I think I used way too much water or maybe not enough paint, one or the other, but it was got too watery for my liking, so I did add a little bit more powder into it and let it thicken up a bit, and then I got started on painting. And I never follow rules with anything I use, guys, so if you ever try milk paint and you want to follow the rules on the back, that's on you. I just don't follow rules because that's just who I am, and I'm in the craft room and I kind of just do what I want and see how it comes out and go with the flow, you know? Okay. So I'm not going to bore you guys with watching me paint in real time. So I do about 2 coats and then I go in with the heat gun and see how much crackle and chippiness I get. So I got plenty of crackle on the spindle parts, a little bit on the wood. Now I'm just going to go in and sand it, and if there is any loose pieces, get all that off. I do love a really chippy look, so I am using, I think, a 120 grit paper for the sandpaper, and look at all that chippiness that I just love. So then I will go in with some antique wax to bring out some of the crackle and all the chippiness and just bring out all the details. And I am using Waverly antique wax. Now I do normally say if you don't like, you know, the muddy or too much grungy, you can either seal it before with spray paint, clear spray paint, or a wax, and that'll just make it more manageable for you to take off most of the antique wax. But I don't mind it at all. I actually like it. So I'm gonna work in small sections and wipe it back almost immediately. And my rag here is a little bit damp, so that'll also help manage some of the antique wax. And also, if you want your milk paint to crackle a little bit more, I've heard that if you use a wet, kind of like a wet distress, it'll cause it to crackle a little bit more. So here they are. I'm just giving them a little bit more wipe down to take off any excess, and that is about it. I reattached them to the metal bookend parts. I don't end up gluing them because if they don't sell, I kind of love them as just little signs for like a kitchen or something. But they did end up selling, and I did screw them in and they are attached just fine. So that is basically it for today's video, guys. Let me know which one was your favorite, and subscribe if you want to continue supporting this channel. I'm happy to have you here. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will add the Whatnot link down below in case you guys want to join me there. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.